totally dedicated to bicycles, because we find that having wide sidewalks on either side of the bridge that are there, divided in half for pedestrians and bicycles, does not work. So the traffic planners are putting one lane of one direction only, well, bikes will be both directions in that lane, dedicated completely for bicycles. It's great on the bridge. Once you get off the bridge, it gets a little bit crazy because the cars have to cross the direction of the bicycles, but it's really working out well. Now, traveling between the Burrard Street Bridge and the Granville Street Bridge, we'll be taking a look at Granville Island, which is a historic manufacturing area which has now been created into or made into a farmer's market, and just a delightful artist studio area. We're under the bridge, and we're now beyond Burrard Street Bridge, looking back at the bridge. Again, an icon of Vancouver, over to Granville Island, which is that old industrial area that has really been fixed up and is quite a destination now. And from Granville to the Cambie Street Bridge, and this was a phenomenal opportunity. In 1986, Vancouver hosted the World's Fair, and this was the site of that fair. So it meant that all the industrial got cleaned out, taken out, and it went from a non-accessible part of the city to a fully and engaged part of the city. And that goes right, just right from Granville, beyond Cambie, and to the Science Centre, which is a little circle on the far right-hand side, which we'll get to. So going under the Granville Street Bridge and going through this old expo lands, we see tremendous development in terms of residential. This is all new on the old expo lands, and tremendous public outdoor spaces, not for recreating or not formally for recreating, but just tremendous assets. Vancouver has made some major mistakes in terms of finding out how to bring people or develop large areas for medium and high density development, but they did a really good job on this one, and the development community was up to the task, whereas I don't think they've been always up to the task in other initiatives. Going beyond the Cambie Street Bridge and to the front door of Expo 86, that little round building, which is the Science Centre. We go to parts of the seawalk that are under construction. So the city wants to go in there, pave it so that people can access it, and wait for future forms of development to make it more appropriate and more elegant. So we're coming up to the Science Centre, and now we're going to go on the south side of Falls Creek, and this is the zone where the Olympic housing, the Olympic Village, is starting to happen. So this portion of it is under construction right now, but even as it's under construction, people are moving here, they're walking to this area, they're getting engaged with the seawalk, and it promises to be very, very much architectural, a lot more architectural than other parts of the seawalk, but still engaging. I'm not sure I can say the same thing about the Athletes Village, and some of the engineering on this seawalk, this is a little pedestrian bridge, is a little bit too architectonic for me, but nevertheless, it's all about giving the water's edge back to the people so that you can totally walk around it. And they've created a little island, which is going to be a highlight of sustainability, a remembrance of roots, the industrial roots of this place. And then finally, along what we call Fairview Slopes, the first time the city created a large tract of land and allowed the development community to get involved, and I'll say with very disappointing results. The upside is that there's a seawalk there, but if you look at the architecture, it's pretty lousy, it's pretty disappointing. Nevertheless, the vistas are spectacular, and the ability to walk it is really something that is unique. I like this particular picture and some of the others that show us this seawalk or this retaining wall, because it doesn't look like it was designed by an architect and built like a contractor. It looks like it was built years ago, decades ago, maybe 100 years ago, and built out of respect for the configuration of the water, as opposed to applying an architecture onto the water's edge. From there, we can do a variety of things. We can go into Granville Island, which is a great area to shop and look at artwork. We can continue along under the bridge and continue on to the Burrard Street Bridge, or what I'm going to do, and that's to cross the bridge and actually give you some aerials. So some quick views into just the children's play portion of Granville Island. I really didn't want to include it as part of this presentation. Over the bridge, and now you'll start to be able to put Granville Island, which is in the foreground there, And the industrial, because there's still a little bit of industrial, in context with how it works with the city on the other side. And again, remember that all of the towers that are on the water's edge are within 200 feet or 60 meters of the water's edge, probably double that, is part of that old Expo legacy. Just now, I've gone around in one way. I'm just going to do a really quick trip in the other direction. So I've left my office, I've crossed the street, and now I'm hit the marina, and I'm heading east. And this is part of the newest development on the seawalk. Very much more urban. The building at the end with the little red awning is a community center, not as well used as the seawalk itself. There's just a delightful aspect as you walk along this thing and head towards the termination of it, which is the convention center with the green roof and the tented convention component beyond that. And what I liked about walking in this direction was that I felt like I was walking on top of the building. If you started on the convention center and walked in the other direction, you wouldn't get a sense of that. This is a pedestrian access, which is an extension of a major street in the urban core. So once a car stopped, the pedestrians could keep on going and engage with the seawalk. This is the convention center as seen from that side. So you can see people can just climb this thing, and approaching it from the west going east is just a terrific thing to do. But once you get there, the convention center is truly disappointing in terms of the celebration of space. There's nothing there. You know, the views are there, but if you look at this, we've been very, very poor in terms of how to enliven a lot of this roof space that we've gathered. When you're wrapping it, when you're putting gardens on it, that's one thing, but when you just keep it for assembly space, it just has not been handled that successfully. Heading along the walk under the convention center now we've got two convention centers and they're connected underneath. We get to this space, which I think is probably among the most disappointing, but technically it is the beginning of this long walk that takes you 20 plus kilometers around the waters of the city. A quick reference back to beaches, and you can see from 1 to 10 the beaches. There are actually beaches that go to the west of one, but the roads start to climb a hill, so the beaches aren't accessible, so you have to kind of climb down a steep embankment. That gives those beaches a sense of privacy, which was important in the 70s when one of those beaches became a nude beach, Red Beach. That's my generation going to school at the university and just thinking it was a good thing to do. This is a publicity shot for the largest Guinness Book of Records, largest simultaneous skinny dipping event in the world. I don't know what the trophy says, but it's something like that. And we have another major kind of public water engagement thing, and that's our polar bear swim. I suspect that the girl on the right enjoying it so much must be Finnish, because I don't think any Vancouverite would enjoy the water that much when it's that cold. Our water is very, very cold, actually. I brought up those images because Vancouver's a city that loves their water but doesn't like to get wet. We're like cats that way. So we don't engage with the water. We like to look at it. And when I see projects like this, I see a commitment to engagement with the water. Water is meaningful here. If you took a look at all those slides I showed, you didn't see anyone in the water, and maybe it's because it was kind of early. You didn't see any boats in the water except the ones that were moored up. We have lots of boats, we have lots of beaches, but we don't get into the water or get onto the water the way most cities that are so close to the water would. So to me, this project and this one, which I'm sure you're all aware of, if you're not, this is what it looks like, is an example of really what architectural engagement and planning engagement of the water's edge looks like. Quick comment on those who, okay, I'm doing pretty good, who want to get really engaged, grows grind, not green, sorry, just a climb up a mountain. And you can get to this mountain very, very easily. Some statistics, the most horrifying one, 2,800 steps in this thing, if you can call them steps. It's like the Boston Marathon. Some thoughts. The original seawall was a natural extension of the Stanley Park experience. The city has maintained a policy of building public access to the waterfront, and for decades the planners have encouraged densification in the urban core, and that's really created an exciting city. The city's natural beauty makes the seawalk a unique experience. The combination of water and mountains and close range is inspiring, although some architects think that we're not up to the task, or we haven't done a particularly good job with these things. We're undersupplied with recreation facilities. Their locations are inconsistent with the growth in the city. And the focus isn't appropriate necessarily for the people that are there or the emerging trends. It's just a huge asset, and people use it by walking, running, skating, cycling, and swimming. It's multi-generational and it's intergenerational. You'll get 3 or 4 generations of the same family on the beach. I need to get to another point here, Renee. I want to bring up aesthetics and what constitutes relevance. Is aesthetics important? Because we've got some beautiful stuff here. This is an industrial park in Germany, and I just love this place because here's a development that takes something that was relevant to that city a long time ago and maintains its relevance through history. I loved walking through this place. I loved climbing everything, and I got as much exercise in this thing as I did on the sea walk, and I did walk the 20 kilometers. So every community has core experience, history, and values that can help create a socially relevant sense of space. It's not about aesthetics. We're lucky in Vancouver to have that, but you don't need that. You need something that's relevant. But we're a great city. Thank you.